She posted a $0 child support receipt. By sunset he wired $430 million and signed the admission of paternity. "I don't want your money, Jack." Ariana's voice cut through the ocean breeze, steady and clear despite the tears threatening to spill. She stood on the weathered pier, her son's small hand in hers, facing the billionaire who had once walked away. "I want the 8 years back. I want the nights I worked double shifts while Liam had asthma attacks. I want the birthdays you missed and the school plays you never saw. I want the time." Jack Ellington, tech visionary, billionaire, the man whose face graced magazine covers, stood speechless for perhaps the first time in his public life. "I know," he finally whispered, his eyes fixed on the boy with his same striking green eyes. "I can't give that back, but I can be here now, every day, for as long as he'll have me." Liam looked up at his mother, then at the stranger who wasn't really a stranger at all. "Mom," he said softly, "is this him? Is this my dad?" The question hung between them like a living thing. 8 years of silence, pain, and absence distilled into 6 simple words. This is the story of a receipt that shattered a perfect image, a mother who never asked for help until the world forced her hand, and a father who discovered that all his billions couldn't buy back the years he threw away. Ariana Morales had spent the last 8 years raising her son alone while building a quiet, dignified life in a coastal town far from the man who had once broken her heart. She worked as a registered nurse by day, an online medical tutor by night, and a full-time mother every moment in between. Her son, Liam, was the brightest part of her world. Kind, brilliant, observant, mixed race with striking green eyes that always drew compliments and curious stares. Those eyes belonged to his father. The father who never claimed him. The father who vanished when she needed him most. The morning that changed everything began like any other. Ariana stood in the county courthouse, waiting patiently as the clerk printed a child support ledger she needed for Liam's school documentation. "Here you go, Ms. Morales," the clerk said, sliding the paper across the counter. Ariana glanced down at the document, her eyes catching on the stark numbers that summarized 8 years of struggle and silence. Child support received, $0. From Jack Ellington. Time span, 8 years, 3 months, 17 days. She folded the paper carefully and slipped it into her purse, thanking the clerk with the same quiet dignity she had maintained since the day Jack walked away. But something shifted inside her as she drove home, a crack in the dam she had built around her heart. That evening, after tucking Liam into bed, Ariana sat at her small kitchen table, the receipts spread before her. 8 years of carrying everything alone. Liam's asthma treatments, his school tuition, his therapy sessions, his curiosity, his fears, his dreams. And Jack, the man with private jets and 9-figure deals, had contributed nothing. With trembling fingers, she took a photo of the receipt and posted it online with a simple caption. "To every mother doing it all alone, you are seen. You are enough." She didn't tag Jack, didn't mention his company, didn't ask for anything. But the internet recognized the name. By noon the next day, #Ellington responsibility was trending. By 2 p.m., news outlets picked up the story. By 4 p.m., shareholders were demanding a response. By 5 p.m., Jack's PR team called him in a panic. Jack Ellington was known across the country as the billionaire tech visionary who disrupted the industry before turning 35. He had power, charisma, a global following, and a spotless public image carefully protected by an elite PR team. But he had a secret with green eyes and an 8-year-old smile that mirrored his own childhood face. A secret he convinced himself he could outrun. When his chief communications officer burst into his office that afternoon, Jack was reviewing acquisition plans for a European startup. "We have a situation," she said, placing her tablet in front of him. "This is going viral." Jack stared at the screen, at the receipt with his name clearly printed, at the date that matched exactly when he had last seen Ariana. But what froze his blood wasn't the receipt itself, it was the photo behind it. A smiling boy with unmistakable green eyes. His eyes. "Is this?" he began, his voice uncharacteristically unsteady. Apparently, yes, his CCO replied. We need a statement immediately. Denial? Legal action? What's our approach? Jack couldn't tear his eyes from the child's face. Get me everything you can find about them. Now. Within an hour, his team had compiled a file. Ariana Morales, 34. Registered nurse at Pacific Coast Medical Center. Online tutor for medical students. Single mother to Liam Elijah Morales, age 8. No previous requests for child support. No public mentions of Jack until today. Your options, his lawyer began, are to deny paternity pending DNA testing, issue a non-committal statement about investigating the claim, or, when was the boy born? Jack interrupted. The lawyer checked his notes. November 17th. Jack closed his eyes. 9 months after he had last seen Ariana. 9 months after he had told her not now, when she tried to tell him something important. 9 months after he had walked away to save his company from a lawsuit that now seemed trivial in comparison. Get me a flight, he said quietly. Tonight. His PR team erupted in protest. You can't go there without a strategy. This could cost you billions if mishandled. The board will revolt if you admit anything without testing. Jack stood, silencing the room. I'm not asking for permission. I'm going to see them. For the first time in his career, Jack Ellison was acting without a calculated plan. Without weighing the costs and benefits. Without thinking about his company's stock price or his public image. He was thinking about a boy with his eyes who had grown up without him. When Ariana's phone began ringing non-stop with calls from numbers she didn't recognize, she realized what was happening. Her private post had somehow gone public. Jack's name had been recognized. The story was spreading. She quickly made her social media accounts private, but it was too late. Reporters were already calling the hospital where she worked. Neighbors were texting about news vans in their quiet coastal town. Mom, Liam asked that evening, finding her staring out the window. Why are there people with cameras outside? Ariana pulled him close, her heart racing. How could she explain this? She had never told Liam the full truth about his father. Only that he wasn't ready to be a dad when Liam was born. Remember how I told you your dad is someone important? She began carefully. Well, some people found out about him, and they're curious about us. Liam's intelligent eyes studied her face. Is he coming to see us? I don't think so, sweetheart, she said softly. But she was wrong. Jack's private jet landed at the small regional airport just after midnight. He rented a car and drove to the address his team had provided. A modest 2-bedroom house 3 blocks from the ocean. He sat in the car until dawn, staring at the home where his son had grown up without him, rehearsing words that seemed hopelessly inadequate. When morning came, he watched as Ariana emerged, dressed in scrubs, ushering a small boy into a well-maintained but aging sedan. He followed at a distance as she dropped the boy at school, then drove to the hospital. Jack spent the day learning about their lives from a distance. He discovered that Liam attended a small private school with a science focus, that Ariana worked 12-hour shifts 3 days a week, that they spent weekends at the beach or the local library. He learned that his son was real, not an abstract concept, not a PR problem, a living, breathing boy who had his eyes and his smile and none of his wealth or privilege. When Ariana finished her shift that evening, she found Jack waiting in the hospital parking lot. What are you doing here? She asked, her voice tight with emotion. I needed to see you, he said simply. Both of you. 8 years, Jack. 8 years of silence. And now you show up because I embarrassed you publicly. No, he said. I'm here because I saw his face. I saw my eyes looking back at me. Ariana's composure cracked slightly. You could have seen that 8 years ago if you'd bothered to look. I know, he admitted. I was wrong. I was a coward. Liam is at his friend's house, she said after a moment. I'm picking him up in an hour. If you want to talk, we can go to the pier. The pier was where they had first met, during a summer when Jack was still building his company. when he had escaped to the coast to clear his head and met a nursing student with a brilliant mind and a laugh that made him forget his ambitions for a while. They walked in silence, the familiar wooden planks creaking beneath their feet. "Why now, Ariana?" he finally asked. "After all this time, why post that receipt?" She looked out at the ocean. "It wasn't about you. It was never about you. It was about being invisible. About carrying everything alone while watching you become a billionaire who talks about making the world better in TED Talks." Jack flinched at the truth in her words. "When I found out I was pregnant," she continued, "you were facing that lawsuit. Your company was hanging by a thread. I tried to tell you and you said not now. Then you disappeared into your success. And I decided if you could walk away that easily, we were better off without you." "I thought you were asking for something else," Jack said quietly. "For commitment I wasn't ready to give. I didn't know about Liam." Ariana turned to face him, her eyes flashing. "Would it have mattered? Would you have chosen us over your company?" Jack couldn't answer. The truth was, he didn't know. The man he had been 8 years ago had been consumed by ambition, by the need to prove himself, by the fear of failure. "I want to meet him," he said instead. "Please." Ariana studied him for a long moment. "He has your eyes, your curiosity, your stubbornness. He's brilliant and kind, and he deserves better than a father who shows up only when forced by public opinion." "I know," Jack acknowledged. "But I'm here now, and I'll be here tomorrow, and the day after, for as long as he'll have me." "It's not that simple," Ariana said. "You can't just walk into his life and play father when it's convenient." "Nothing about this is convenient," Jack replied. "My board is in crisis. My PR team is having collective heart failure. My lawyers are drafting statements I have no intention of making. But none of that matters because somewhere in this town is a boy who has my eyes and doesn't know my name." Before Ariana could respond, her phone rang. It was time to pick up Liam. "Come with me," she said finally. "But understand this, if you hurt him, if you disappear again, there won't be a third chance." They drove in tense silence to a small house where Liam was playing with a friend. When he bounded out to the car, he stopped short at the sight of the stranger standing beside his mother. "Liam," Ariana said gently, "this is Jack Ellison. He knew me before you were born." Jack knelt down, coming eye to eye with the boy. "Hello, Liam. It's very nice to meet you." Liam studied him with the directness only children possess. "You have eyes like mine." "Yes," Jack said, his voice thick with emotion. "I do." "Are you my dad?" Liam asked suddenly. The question hung in the air between them. Ariana held her breath, waiting for Jack to deflect, to hesitate, to fail this first crucial test. Instead, he nodded. "Yes, I am. And I'm sorry I haven't been here until now." Liam considered this with remarkable composure. "Mom says you weren't ready to be a dad when I was born." "Your mom is right," Jack admitted. "I was scared and selfish. But I'd like to know you now if that's okay." Liam glanced at his mother, then back at Jack. "Do you like feeding the gulls?" "Mom and I go to the pier on Saturdays to feed them." "I'd love to feed the gulls with you," Jack said, a smile breaking through his tension. They spent the next hour on the pier, Liam chattering about school, his friends, his asthma that was getting better, his science project on ocean conservation. Jack listened with rapt attention, learning more about his son in those 60 minutes than he had in 8 years of absence. As sunset painted the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Liam asked the question that would change everything. "Will you come back tomorrow?" Jack looked at Ariana, seeking permission, then back at his son. "Yes," he said softly. "Every day you want me." When Liam ran ahead to throw the last of the bread to the gulls, Ariana turned to Jack. "He doesn't know who you really are, how rich or powerful. He just sees a man who might be his father." "That's all I want to be," Jack replied. "What happens when you go back to your real life?" she challenged. "When the PR crisis passes and the board stops panicking?" Jack watched his son laughing as seagulls swooped around him. "This is my real life. I just didn't know it until today." That night, after Ariana and Liam returned home, Jack checked into a small hotel overlooking the ocean. He sat on the balcony, making the most important calls of his career. First to his lawyer. I need you to draft an admission of paternity. No DNA test. No conditions. I want it filed and made public by morning. Then to his financial advisor. I'm establishing a trust. $430 million. Irrevocable. For Liam Elijah Morales. His team was stunned. His board was furious. His PR team begged him to reconsider. Sir, his lawyer protested. Without DNA confirmation, this is extraordinarily risky. The amount you're suggesting is approximately what I would have provided over 8 years if I had been present from the beginning, Jack interrupted. Plus interest for my absence. At least let us include conditions, his advisor pleaded. Educational requirements, age restrictions on access. No, Jack said firmly. Ariana has raised him perfectly without my input. The trust will be structured according to her wishes, not mine. By morning, the documents were prepared. By noon, they were signed. By sunset, $430 million had been transferred into a trust for Liam Morales. Irrevocable, locked, protected, unreachable even by Jack himself. When the banker asked for confirmation of such an extraordinary transfer, Jack said simply, everything I owe begins with this. The rest, I'll earn. That same day, he signed and filed the legal admission of paternity. I, Jack Alexander Ellison, am the biological father of Liam Elijah Morales. I accept full responsibility legally, financially, personally, and permanently. No DNA test, no conditions, no PR edits. When news of the trust and the admission broke, the internet exploded again. Some called it a PR stunt. Others praised his accountability. Stock in his company fluctuated wildly as analysts debated what this meant for the future of Ellison Technologies. Jack ignored it all. He had rented a small house near Ariana and Liam, committed to staying in the coastal town indefinitely. Each morning, he walked to their home and asked permission to spend time with his son. Each evening, he returned to his rented house alone, giving them space, respecting boundaries. When Ariana learned about the trust and the legal admission, she didn't feel triumphant. She felt overwhelmed. $430 million, Jack? She said when she confronted him the next day. What were you thinking? I was thinking about 8 years of private schools I didn't pay for, medical treatments I didn't contribute to, college I haven't saved for, a future I haven't secured, he replied. It's not a gift, Ariana. It's a debt. He doesn't need your money, she insisted. He needs you to be consistent, to show up, to be the father he deserves. I know, Jack said. The money is the easy part. Being worthy of him, that's what I have to earn. Over the following weeks, a tentative routine emerged. Jack would join them for breakfast 3 mornings a week. He would pick Liam up from school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, helping with homework before returning him home for dinner. Weekends included trips to the Science Museum, hikes along coastal trails, and always, feeding the gulls at the pier. Liam approached his newfound father with the resilience and curiosity of childhood. He asked endless questions about Jack's life, his work, his own childhood. He showed Jack his science projects and book collection. He introduced him to his friends with simple honesty. This is my dad. He was gone for a while, but he's here now. For Jack, each moment was a revelation. The simple joy of helping with math homework. The pride of watching Liam present in his science class. The terror of an asthma attack that sent them rushing to the emergency room at midnight. You get used to the fear, Ariana told him as they sat in the hospital waiting room. It becomes part of loving them. Jack looked at her with new understanding. You've done this alone for 8 years. I did what I had to do, she said simply. I'm sorry, he whispered, not for the first time. I'm so sorry, Ariana. She nodded, accepting his apology without offering forgiveness. That would take more time. 2 months after Jack's arrival in their lives, The media frenzy had mostly subsided. His company had stabilized under interim leadership. The trust for Liam had been established according to Ariana's specifications, structured to provide education, healthcare, and security without creating dependency or entitlement. But the real work was happening quietly, away from public view. The work of building trust, of earning a place in Liam's life, of healing wounds 8 years in the making. One evening, as Jack was leaving after dinner, Liam asked the question that had been inevitable from the start. "Are you going to live with us someday?" Jack froze, looking to Ariana for guidance. Her expression was carefully neutral. "That's something your mom and I would need to discuss," Jack answered carefully. "But no matter where I live, I'll always be your dad." Later, after Liam was asleep, Ariana invited Jack to stay for coffee. A first. "He's getting attached to you," she said, her voice carrying a warning. "I'm attached to him too," Jack replied. "And when you go back, when your company needs you, when this small-town life becomes too quiet for a man who runs a global empire." Jack set down his cup. "I've been thinking about that. I'm not going back, Ariana. Not to my old life." She looked skeptical. "You're giving up your company?" "I'm restructuring it. Working remotely. Building a team that doesn't need me physically present. The board has actually been surprisingly supportive since they've seen the stock stabilize. And you expect me to believe that Jack Ellison, workaholic billionaire, is content to live in a rental house in a coastal town, picking up an 8-year-old from school every day? I expect you to believe that I finally understand what matters," he said quietly. "And it's not what I thought it was." Ariana studied him, searching for the ambition and restlessness that had defined him when they first met. It was still there, but tempered now by something new. A groundedness, a presence she hadn't seen before. "He asks about us," she admitted. "About how we met. What happened between us." "What did you tell him?" "The truth. That we loved each other once. That timing and choices pulled us apart. That people can make mistakes and still be good people." Jack's heart tightened at her words. "Do you believe that? That I'm still a good person despite what I did?" Ariana sighed. "I'm starting to. The man who walked away 8 years ago wouldn't have signed that admission without a DNA test. Wouldn't have created that trust without conditions. Wouldn't be sitting at my kitchen table drinking coffee after spending 2 hours helping an 8-year-old build a volcano for science class. I'm trying to be better," Jack said. "For him. For you. For myself." "I see that," she acknowledged. "But Jack, I need you to understand something. I'm not the same woman you left behind. I've built a life I'm proud of. I won't give up my independence or my career or my voice. Not even for Liam's father." "I would never ask you to," Jack replied. "The woman you've become is extraordinary. Liam is proof of that." A small smile touched Ariana's lips, the first genuine smile she had offered him since his return. "Go home, Jack. We'll see you tomorrow for Liam's soccer game." As weeks turned into months, the rhythms of their lives adjusted to include Jack. His rental house acquired furniture, books, and Liam's artwork on the refrigerator. His company adapted to his remote leadership. His former life in the tech world seemed increasingly distant. The trust he had established for Liam remained untouched. Ariana refused to use it for their daily needs, insisting on maintaining her financial independence. But she did agree to let Jack pay for Liam's medical expenses and education directly. "Not because we need it," she clarified, "but because he deserves to have both parents contributing." 6 months after the viral receipt that had changed everything, Jack received an unexpected invitation from Ariana. Dinner at their house, just the two of them, after Liam was asleep at a friend's home. He arrived with cautious hope, finding the small house transformed by candlelight and the scent of the paella they had loved cooking together years ago. "What's the occasion?" he asked as she handed him a glass of wine. "I've been thinking," Ariana said, sitting across from him at the kitchen table, "about forgiveness, about the past, about the future." Jack waited, hardly daring to breathe. "You hurt me deeply," she continued. Not just by leaving, but by making me question my own worth. For years, I wondered what was wrong with me that you could walk away so easily. There was nothing wrong with you, Jack said fervently. The failure was entirely mine. I know that now, Ariana nodded. And watching you these past months, the way you've shown up consistently, the way you've respected my boundaries, the way you've put Liam first, I've realized something important. What's that? Jack asked softly. That I don't want to be defined by what happened 8 years ago any more than you do. That Liam deserves parents who have healed their own wounds. That maybe there's a path forward for all of us. Jack set down his wine glass, his hand trembling slightly. What are you saying, Ariana? I'm saying I forgive you, she said simply. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. And because Liam deserves parents who can look at each other without pain shadowing every interaction. Thank you, Jack whispered, emotion thick in his voice. I'm also saying, Ariana continued, that I'm open to exploring what a future might look like. Not rushing, not picking up where we left off, but starting something new. Something built on who we are now, not who we were then. Jack reached across the table, offering his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Ariana placed her hand in his. I'd like that, he said. Very much. That night marked a turning point. Not a fairy tale ending, but a beginning, tentative, honest, grounded in the reality of who they had become through pain and growth. They began dating again carefully. Simple dinners after Liam was asleep. Walks on the beach while he was at school. Conversations that stretched late into the night, rebuilding trust one disclosure at a time. Liam watched with a child's hopeful wisdom. Are you and Mom going to get married? He asked Jack one day as they built sandcastles on the beach. Would you like that? Jack asked carefully. Liam considered the question seriously. I like having you here every day. And Mom smiles more now. I like being here, Jack said. And making your mom smile is one of my favorite things. Then you should probably marry her, Liam concluded with 8-year-old logic. But maybe get her a better ring than last time. Jack nearly dropped his sand bucket. Last time, Liam nodded matter-of-factly. Mom keeps it in her jewelry box. She said you gave it to her before I was born. But then things got complicated. That night, after Liam was asleep, Jack confronted Ariana gently. You kept the ring? She looked away, embarrassed. I should have told you. It was just a simple promise ring, not even an engagement. I kept it to remind myself that there had been love once. That Liam came from something real. Jack took her hand. It was real. I loved you then imperfectly and selfishly. But what I feel now is deeper, stronger, built on knowing exactly what I almost lost forever. 3 months later, on the anniversary of the viral receipt that had brought them back together, Jack took Ariana and Liam to the pier where it had all begun. Where he had first met Ariana years ago, where he had reconnected with his son, where their healing had started. As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant gold and crimson, Jack knelt on the weathered wooden planks. Ariana Morales, he said, opening a small box containing not a diamond, but a simple band of twisted gold and silver. You raised our son with strength and grace when I failed you both. You taught me what real courage looks like. You showed me what matters most. Will you marry me? Not the man I was, but the man you've helped me become. Liam watched, wide-eyed, as his mother's tears spilled over. Yes, she whispered. Yes. As Jack slipped the ring onto her finger, Liam threw his arms around them both. Does this mean we'll all live together now? He asked excitedly. Ariana laughed through her tears. Yes, sweetheart. We'll be a family. All of us. Finally, Liam said with the satisfaction of a wish long held. That night, as Liam slept peacefully in his room, Ariana and Jack sat on the porch of what would soon be their shared home. I never posted that receipt for this, Ariana said softly. I never imagined we would find our way back to each other. I know, Jack replied. You posted it because you were tired of being invisible, of carrying everything alone. She nodded. And now you'll never have to carry anything alone again, he promised. Not because I can afford to lift the weight, but because I choose to stand beside you, sharing it. Ariana leaned against him, watching the stars emerge above the ocean. The money doesn't matter, you know. The trust, the admission, they were gestures. Important ones, but still just gestures. What matters? Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. Showing up, she said simply. Every day. In the ordinary moments. In the hard ones. In the beautiful ones. Just showing up. Jack tightened his arm around her. For the rest of my life, he vowed. For both of you. Every day. 1 year after the viral receipt that had exposed Jack's greatest failure, a small wedding took place on the same pier where their story had begun, continued, and now transformed. Liam stood proudly between them, holding the rings, his green eyes, his father's eyes, bright with joy. The guest list was small. No corporate executives. No tech world celebrities. Just friends who had supported Ariana through the hard years. A few colleagues who had stood by Jack through his transformation, and the community that had witnessed their journey. As they exchanged vows, Jack added a special promise to Liam. I missed the beginning of your story, but I will be there for every chapter that follows. This I swear. The media noted the wedding with brief mentions. A footnote to what had once been a viral sensation. The business world had moved on to newer scandals and success stories. Jack Ellington, once the face of tech innovation, had become something far more ordinary and far more extraordinary. A husband, a father, a man who had found his way home. The trust fund he had established for Liam remained largely untouched, managed carefully for his future. But the real wealth in their lives had nothing to do with money. It was in the ordinary moments. Homework at the kitchen table, weekend hikes along coastal trails, family movie nights with popcorn battles and too many pillows on the floor. Ariana continued her nursing career, eventually opening a clinic for underserved families in their coastal community. Funded in part by a foundation she and Jack established together. Jack rebuilt his company from a distance, focusing on ethical innovation and family-friendly policies that reflected his new priorities. His board, initially skeptical, came to respect the balanced leader he had become. And Liam grew, secure in the love of both parents, carrying his father's eyes and his mother's strength, unaware that his existence had transformed two lives and, in a small way, changed how the world viewed responsibility, redemption, and what it truly means to be rich. Years later, when Liam was preparing to leave for college, he found the framed receipt his mother had kept. The $0 child support statement that had started everything. Why do you keep this? He asked Ariana, now a respected healthcare advocate and still Jack's partner in all things. She exchanged a look with Jack before answering. To remember that sometimes our greatest pain can lead to our greatest healing. That speaking truth, even when it's hard, can change everything. Jack joined them, placing an arm around each. And to remember, he added, that the most valuable things in life can't be measured in dollars. They're measured in showing up, in second chances, and in the courage to begin again. Liam nodded thoughtfully, looking between the two people who had found their way to each other through brokenness and forgiveness. I'm glad you posted it, he said simply. I'm glad Dad came home. Home. The word encompassed everything they had built together. Not a mansion bought with billions, but a life rich with presence, with purpose, with love that had been lost, found, and transformed. A life that began with a receipt showing $0 and ended up revealing what was truly priceless. If this story touched you, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more powerful narratives that remind us what truly matters in this world. As Liam left for his first semester at Stanford University, where he planned to study biomedical engineering with a focus on pediatric respiratory treatments, the house felt suddenly quiet. Jack found Ariana in Liam's room, straightening already neat shelves, touching the science trophies and childhood mementos with gentle fingers. He'll be back for Thanksgiving, Jack said softly, wrapping his arms around her from behind. I know, she replied, leaning into him. I just miss him already. Me too. They stood together in the silence, surrounded by evidence of the childhood Jack had nearly missed entirely. The growth chart on the wall, the bookshelf that had evolved from picture books to medical journals, the framed photo of the three of them on the pier the day Jack proposed. "Do you ever think about how different things might have been?" Ariana asked. "If I hadn't posted that receipt?" Jack considered the question carefully. "Every day," he admitted. "I might never have known him. Never have found my way back to you. Never have understood what really matters." Ariana turned in his arms to face him. "And do you regret it? Giving up the spotlight? The private jets? The life you had before?" Jack smiled, the lines around his eyes crinkling. Lines earned from 10 years of laughter and presence rather than stress and ambition. "Not for a single moment. Everything I gave up was nothing compared to what I gained." Later that evening, as they walked along the pier that had become the touchstone of their family story, Jack's phone buzzed with a notification. He glanced at it, then showed Ariana with a smile. It was a text from Liam with a photo attached. His new dorm room, decorated with family pictures and a framed quote that read, "Second chances are not given to make things right, but to prove that we could be better even after we fall." "I think he's going to be okay," Ariana said, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Better than okay," Jack agreed. "He has your heart and your strength. And your eyes and your mind," she added. "And both our love," Jack finished, kissing her temple gently. As they continued their walk, Jack reflected on the decade that had passed since the viral receipt had forced him to confront his greatest failure. His company had evolved under his more balanced leadership, becoming known for ethical innovation and family-friendly policies. The trust he had established for Liam had grown substantially, though they had raised him with the same values of hard work and responsibility that Ariana had instilled from the beginning. Most importantly, Jack had kept his promise, showing up every day, for the ordinary moments and the extraordinary ones, for science fairs and asthma attacks, for homework struggles and teenage heartbreaks, for family dinners and holiday traditions they created together. The media had long since moved on from their story. Occasionally, business publications would mention Jack Ellington as an example of corporate leadership balanced with family commitment. Sometimes, parenting blogs would reference Ariana's journey from single mother to healthcare advocate. Rarely, they were asked to speak about blended families or second chances. But the true story, the daily commitment, the quiet growth, the private moments of connection, that belonged only to them. "What are you thinking about?" Ariana asked as they reached the end of the pier. "About wealth," Jack replied. "Real wealth." She raised an eyebrow, waiting for him to continue. "Before that receipt went viral, I thought I was one of the richest men in the world," he explained. "I had billions in assets, global influence, a company that was changing technology. But I was the poorest man alive in all the ways that mattered." "And now?" Ariana prompted. Jack looked at her. At the woman who had raised their son alone for 8 years, who had found the courage to post that receipt, who had given him a second chance he hadn't deserved. "Now I understand that true wealth isn't measured in dollars or stock options or company valuations," he said. "It's measured in moments, in presence, in love that endures even when it's been broken." Ariana smiled, the same smile that had captivated him when they first met on this pier nearly 20 years ago. "That's a perspective worth more than $430 million. Worth more than everything," Jack agreed, taking her hand as they turned back toward home. Their modest house near the ocean where they had built a life rich beyond measure. As they walked, Ariana's phone chimed with another message from Liam. "Made it to my first college class. Nervous but excited. Love you both. Thanks for everything." Such a simple message, but it represented everything they had built together. A young man secure in his parents' love, confident in his path forward, grateful for his foundations. Jack squeezed Ariana's hand, overwhelmed once again by how close he had come to missing it all. How a single receipt, posted in a moment of exhaustion and truth, had changed not just Liam's life, but his own. "Thank you," he said softly. "For what?" Ariana asked. "For posting that receipt. For giving me a chance to know our son." for showing me what real wealth looks like. Ariana leaned her head against his shoulder as they walked. Sometimes the best things in life come from our hardest moments. And sometimes, Jack added, a $0 receipt can be worth more than all the billions in the world. That night, as they fell asleep in each other's arms, Jack thought about the journey that had brought them here. From a viral moment of public accountability to a decade of private growth and healing. From a billionaire CEO who had abandoned his responsibilities to a father and husband who had found his true purpose. The receipt that had once exposed his greatest failure now hung framed in their home office. Not as a reminder of pain, but as a testament to transformation. To the truth that sometimes, our worst mistakes can lead to our greatest redemption. And to the reality that the richest people in the world aren't those with the most money, but those who understand what truly matters, showing up every day for the people we love. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more narratives that remind us of what truly matters in this world. And remember, it's never too late for a second chance. Never too late to make things right. Never too late to discover what real wealth means in your own life.